If you are watching this right now, stop everything you are doing. Because the May 2026 Visa Bulletin just dropped. And what is inside it is going to affect hundreds of thousands of people who are waiting for their green cards. I am talking about a massive mid-year correction that nobody expected at this scale. A chart switch that shuts the door on certain applicants. A 6-month jump in a family category that almost never moves this fast. And a brand new retrogression warning that could wipe out years of waiting for Indian nationals in one single category. Today we are breaking down every single detail. Employment-based categories, family-sponsored categories, diversity visa, and what USCIS has officially confirmed you must use when you file this month. Stay with me, because this affects your case directly. Let's start with the single biggest news item in this entire bulletin, and it is the one that is going to hit the hardest. USCIS has confirmed that for May 2026, it is switching from the dates for filing chart back to the final action dates chart for all employment-based green card categories. This is a critical mid-year correction, and very few people were fully prepared for it. Here is what this means in plain English. For May 2026, USCIS will only accept employment-based adjustment of status applications based on the final action dates chart, not the dates for filing chart. That makes April 30th, 2026, the absolute last day to file using Chart B eligibility. If you were eligible under Chart B but not yet current under the final action dates, and you did not file by April 30th, you may have lost that filing window for the foreseeable future. Let me say that again, so it really lands. If you had a priority date that allowed you to file under the more generous dates for filing chart, and you did not act before April 30th, that window is now closed, gone, and nobody knows when it is coming back. Now let's talk about why this happened. The rapid advancement of dates earlier this fiscal year was driven by reduced consular visa issuances. This happened because of presidential proclamations 10949 and 10998, and a pause on immigrant visa processing for a large number of nationalities. Those proclamations slowed down processing at consulates around the world. That created extra visa numbers floating in the system, so the government pushed dates forward aggressively to absorb those numbers. But now the system is course correcting. The door that opened wide is now being pulled back. And May 2026 is where that correction officially begins. After April delivered some of the biggest single-month advances of this entire fiscal year, EB2, India jumped 303 days. EB3 Rest of World advanced 244 days. EB4 and Special Religious Workers jumped a full year. The State Department held the line in May. Every single one of those categories is now frozen at its April value. Let's go through the employment-based categories one by one so you know exactly where you stand. EB1. EB1 final action dates remain completely unchanged in May. China and India remain at April 1st, 2023. All other countries remain current, meaning no wait at all for most nationalities. EB2. EB2 also remains unchanged. It stays current for most countries. China sits at September 1st, 2021. India remains at July 15th, 2014. Think about that number for a second. July 2014. That means if you are an Indian professional in the EB2 category filing today for the first time, you are looking at potentially a decade or more of waiting based on where the line currently stands. And May offers absolutely nothing to change that reality. EB3. EB3 for India sits at November 2013. These are dates that reflect a backlog built over decades. A backlog that is unlikely to clear without major legislative changes. Now, the only employment-based categories that actually moved this month, and we are talking about very small movements, are other workers for Rest of World in Mexico, which advanced about 92 days, and EB5 unreserved for China, which moved forward by just 3 weeks. Everything else is frozen solid. EB1, EB2, and EB3 applicants from India and China should plan for continued stagnation through the third quarter of fiscal year 2026. Now here is something very important that every Indian national in the EB5 category needs to hear right now. The May Visa Bulletin includes a direct retrogression warning For India, EB5 unreserved. The State Department is warning that sufficient demand and increased number used by India in this category may make it necessary to retrogress the final action date, or make the category completely unavailable in order to stay within the maximum allowed under the fiscal year 2026 annual limit. And they gave no indication of when that retrogression might happen. The EB5 unreserved category for India currently sits at May 1st, 2022. China's unreserved cutoff moves to September 22, 2016. The EB5 category remains current for all other chargeability areas and for the three set-aside categories, rural, high unemployment, and infrastructure, across all countries. If you are an Indian national who has invested in the EB5 program through the unreserved category, this warning is not something to take lightly. The State Department is telling you clearly, they are watching the numbers. And if demand spikes, they could pull back the date or shut the category down entirely with very little notice. Now let's shift to the good news. Because unlike the employment side, the family-sponsored categories in May 2026 are actually showing real, meaningful movement. Family-sponsored categories posted the most forward movement in this entire bulletin. F2A advanced 6 full months across every region. F1 Rest of World and Mexico advanced 4 to 6 months. F3 Philippines jumped 144 days. F4 Philippines jumped 164 days. And no family category retrogressed in May. Not a single one. Let's break this down category by category. F1. This covers unmarried adult sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. F1 worldwide moved 4 months, from May 1st, 2017 to September 1st, 2017. Mexico F1 gained 6 months. Philippines F1 did not move. For the filing chart, F1 worldwide, China and India advanced to September 1st, 2017, and F1 Mexico advances to August 15th, 2007. If you are in the F1 category, and your priority date is getting close, this is the moment to make sure your documents are ready. The filing chart allows you to submit your application before your final action date becomes current. That lets you lock in your place in line while you wait. Now the star of this entire bulletin, F2A. F2A covers spouses and minor children of green card holders. Final action dates move from February 1st, 2024 to August 1st, 2024 for worldwide China, India, and Philippines. For Mexico, the date moved from February 1st, 2023 to August 1st, 2023, a 6-month jump in a single bulletin. That is genuinely unusual. This is one of the largest single-month movements this category has seen in recent years. If you are a lawful permanent resident with a spouse or minor child waiting, either abroad or inside the United States, this directly impacts when they can move forward. And here is the additional layer that makes F2A even more significant this month. F2A remains current for filing purposes. That means eligible applicants can submit their paperwork regardless of their priority date, even while final approvals remain capped. This filing window is extremely valuable and should be used proactively. Let me explain why filing matters so much even when your date is not yet current for final approval. Once you file your I-485, your adjustment of status application, you can apply for a work permit. You can apply for a travel document. Your children who are waiting can be protected from aging out, and you lock in your place in the queue. The F2A filing window being current right now is one of the most powerful tools available to green card holders with waiting family members. Do not let this opportunity pass without taking action. F3. Married sons and daughters of U.S. citizens. F3 Philippines advanced 4.7 months. F3 worldwide, China and India advanced 1.8 months to February 15, 2012. F4. Brothers and sisters of adult U.S. citizens. F4 advanced about 3 months for worldwide and China, from June 8, 2008 to September 15, 2008. Philippines F4 gained around 5.5 months. India and Mexico F4 held flat. F2B, unmarried sons and daughters of permanent residents who are 21 or older. F2B sat completely still in May after a strong jump in April. The State Department often lets one category advance while pausing another. This is a normal pattern, but it means F2B applicants need to be patient for now. Now let's talk about something that does not get enough attention. The aging out risk. If you have a child on your green card petition who is approaching the age of 21, this is urgent. Once a child crosses that age threshold, they fall out of derivative beneficiary status. The movement in family categories and the filing window for F2A makes acting now absolutely critical. If you are in that situation, you need to be talking to an immigration attorney this week, not next month, this week. Now let's talk about the Diversity Visa Program, DV 2026. The DV 2026 annual limit has been further reduced to approximately 52,000. Diversity visas are divided among 6 geographic regions, and no single country can receive more than 7% of the available diversity visas in any one year. The reduction in the annual limit is directly connected to the presidential proclamations reshaping immigration throughout this fiscal year. If you are a DV selectee, this makes it even more important that you are moving quickly to complete your case before the fiscal year ends on September 30th, 2026. Unused diversity visa numbers do not roll over. Once the fiscal year closes, those numbers are gone forever. Now let's zoom out and look at the big picture. What does all of this tell us about where we are headed for the rest of fiscal year 2026? The pattern is becoming very clear. The government opened the floodgates in the early months of this fiscal year, when proclamations reduced consular processing for many countries. That created a window of opportunity. Dates advanced. People who had been waiting for years suddenly found themselves current. But that window is tightening. The May Bulletin is the first clear signal that the pace of advancement is slowing dramatically for employment-based categories, and the retrogression warnings are multiplying. The State Department has stated directly in this bulletin, if demand for immigrant visa numbers increases, or if the government revises its restrictive immigrant visa actions, it may be necessary to retrogress some dates later in the fiscal year. The fiscal year ends September 30th, 2026. That word, retrogression, is the one every applicant needs to be watching for. Retrogression means dates that were previously current or ahead of yours get pulled back, and suddenly you are no longer eligible to file or receive a visa, even though just a few months ago you were. It has happened before. It can happen again. EB1 and EB2 for all countries except India and China remain current under the final action dates chart. If you are from any country other than India or China, and you are in EB1 or EB2, you have an extraordinary opportunity right now. Being current means you can file for your green card today. There is no wait. The door is wide open, and given the retrogression warnings in this bulletin, if you are current and you have not filed yet, there is genuinely no good reason to wait any longer. For Indian and Chinese nationals in employment-based categories, the path forward requires strategy, patience, and careful use of every available tool. The family category movement this month is genuinely meaningful for families already in the queue. But for Indian professionals in EB2 and EB3, where waits routinely stretch beyond a decade, May 2026 offers nothing new. The system requires legislative reform to truly fix the backlog. But until that reform comes, the best thing you can do is file every time a window opens, protect your dependents, and stay informed every single month. Let me now tell you exactly what you should be doing right now, based on where you are in this process. If you are in a family-sponsored category, and your priority date is approaching the dates on the filing chart, file as soon as you can. Getting into the system early protects you, gives you work authorization, and locks in your timeline. Do not wait for the perfect moment. If you are in an employment-based category and you are current under the final action dates chart, file immediately. Given the retrogression warnings in this bulletin, the window you have right now may not last as long as you think. If you are an Indian national in the EB5 unreserved category, take the retrogression warning seriously. Consult an attorney about your timeline and your options before the State Department makes a move that changes your situation overnight. If you are a DV 2026 selectee, every week matters. With the annual limit reduced and the fiscal year ending September 30th, there is zero room for delays. Move now. And if you are just starting your green card journey, whether through a family member, an employer, or an investment, understand that the system you are entering is one where timing, strategy, and information are everything. The people who succeed in this process are almost always the ones who stay informed, act quickly when windows open, and plan ahead for when they close. Here is the bottom line for May 2026. For family-sponsored categories, use the dates for filing chart. For employment-based categories, use the final action dates chart. That is the single most important operational fact from this entire bulletin. Know which chart applies to your category. File on the right basis. And if you are unsure, get professional guidance before any deadline passes. The May 2026 Visa Bulletin is a turning point. The generous wave of date advancements from earlier this year is slowing down. The employment-based side is frozen. The retrogression warnings are getting louder. And the clock on fiscal year 2026 is ticking. If there is a filing window available to you right now, treat it with the urgency it deserves. These windows do not stay open forever. The applicants who moved quickly when April opened the door are in a much stronger position than the ones who waited. Do not let June tell the same story. Stay on top of your case. Watch for the June bulletin. And if this breakdown helped you understand where things stand, share it with someone who needs to know. Because in immigration, information can make the difference between moving forward and waiting years longer than you ever had to.